So imagine for a second a historical narrative where the universe itself, the moon, the clouds, even the very trees, literally bend to honor a single individual. Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're neutrally mapping out a deeply revered traditional text that details these extraordinary events, or miracles, documented in the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, whether you're a longtime student of early Islamic history or you're just exploring these narratives for the very first time, this source material is genuinely fascinating. It offers a look into events that traditional accounts describe as completely defying the laws of physics. We're going to break down exactly what this text says, how it categorizes these events, and what it ultimately claims is the most enduring miracle of the whole shebang. Let's dive in. To help us navigate this vast timeline, we'll be following the source text through 6 distinct phases. 1. Darkness to divine light. 2. Miracles of his childhood. 3. Signs during the youth. 4. Adversity and the moon. 5. Miracles in Medina. And finally, 6. The night journey legacy. All right, section 1, darkness to divine light. The source actually kicks things off by painting this incredibly stark thematic contrast. It juxtaposes a really harsh, unforgiving 7th century desert society, an era it describes as being filled with deep ignorance, intense tribal cruelty, and a profoundly dead conscience, with the arrival of a figure bringing unparalleled mercy, moral light, and perfect character. The text basically argues that while his flawless character was a testament to his truth all on its own, nature itself had to step in and provide physical, undeniable evidence to wake up a society that was just so deeply lost in the dark. But before we look at those specific events, we really need to nail down exactly how the source defines a mu'jiza, or a miracle. You see, these are never framed in the text as unexplained anomalies or lucky coincidences or just magic tricks. Not at all. The text strictly defines them as deliberate, purposeful suspensions of physical laws, granted directly by the Creator. And they serve one absolutely crucial purpose: to act as undeniable divine testimony. It's physical validation explicitly designed to leave the human intellect completely astounded, proving without a doubt that the message comes from a higher power. Moving right along to section 2, miracles of his childhood. So according to traditional custom back then, infants from Mecca were sent out to the open desert for a healthier upbringing. The narrative introduces us to a wet nurse named Halima Sadiya, and her situation was grim. She was living in absolute destitution. Her life was entirely defined by harsh barrenness. Her animals were starving, her lands were painfully dry, and she didn't even have enough milk to quiet her own crying baby. But the text states that the literal moment she took in this orphan child, her reality flipped upside down. Her life was instantly transformed with overflowing milk, returning vitality, and this sudden, inexplicable abundance that completely defied the natural logic of a drought-stricken desert. And this transformation was so extreme, it genuinely shocked everyone around her. When they were heading back from Mecca, her camel, which was previously the absolute weakest, most emaciated animal in the group, suddenly outpaced the entire traveling caravan with lightning speed. Her companions were watching this in utter disbelief, asking if this was even the same animal they had traveled out with in the first place. Halima's response perfectly captures the narrative's central theme here. She says, "The ride is the same, but the rider has changed." The text uses this early, vivid event to establish that these incredible blessings were inextricably linked to his physical presence. Which brings us to section 3, signs during the youth. Fast forward a bit from his childhood with Halima into his youth and early adulthood, and the narrative introduces these remarkable environmental miracles. During trade journeys to Syria, first as a young man and later on as an adult alongside a companion named Maysara, the source states that the physical environment was actively reacting to him. The text specifically describes a lone, small cloud that would consistently trail him, moving exactly as he moved, just to shield him from the scorching desert sun. And even more incredibly, dry tree branches are described as literally bending and bowing down to provide him shelter the very second he sat beneath them. Now, what makes these specific journeys so pivotal in the text is the presence of external, objective witnesses. According to the accounts, it wasn't just his followers noticing this. Christian monks named Bahira and Nastura independently observed these supernatural signs: the hovering clouds, the bowing trees. They examined him, identified a physical seal of prophethood right between his shoulders, and immediately urged his guardians to protect him. The text emphasizes this to show that he was recognized not just by the natural environment, but by scholars of previous faiths who saw these exact signs mapped out in their own ancient scriptures. let's move into section 4, adversity and the moon. As his prophethood officially begins in Mecca, the narrative takes a really sharp, dramatic turn. We see a shift from passive environmental blessings to active, divine defense mechanisms against some deeply lethal opposition. The text categorizes incredibly specific ways his enemies were thwarted. I mean, picture a fierce tribal leader named Abu Jahl trying to crush him with a heavy stone, only to be stopped dead in his tracks by a terrifying vision of a fiery trench and a massive camel. Or Jamil approaching to strike him, but a divine veil is placed over her eyes, rendering him completely invisible to her, even though he's sitting right there. Later, assassins surrounding his home are blinded by a simple handful of dust during his escape to Cave Thor. And then there's Utbah, who the text notes was killed by a lion exactly as foretold by a prophetic warning. These are framed as highly targeted active divine interventions meant to protect the message. Then the text details what it considers the absolute ultimate cosmic miracle of the Meccan period. The Meccans were demanding an undeniable sign, not something on earth, but up in the sky. The account claims that on the 14th night, the brilliant full moon was literally split into two distinct halves. One cart hovered over Mount Abu Qubais and the other over Mount Kaikan. And the source leans in heavily here to emphasize that this was no mass hallucination or optical illusion. It describes it as a physical, astronomical event, reportedly witnessed and corroborated by distant traveling caravans who arrived in the city days later, confirming, yep, they had seen the exact same impossible sky. Next up, section 5, miracles in Medina. Once the timeline shifts over to Medina, the core purpose of the miracles shifts too. Instead of proving his truth to fierce enemies, they function to comfort and sustain his loyal followers. There's this one deeply emotional anecdote about a dry, lifeless palm trunk that the prophet used to lean against while giving sermons. Well, when a proper wooden pulpit was finally built and he stepped away, the source states that the entire congregation heard that dry piece of wood weeping and sobbing, literally like a highly distressed child suffering from separation anxiety. It only stopped when he stepped down and physically embraced it. It's a beautifully profound narrative tool used to show that even inanimate objects felt an intense, loving connection to him. And then, imagine the sheer logistics of this next one. Providing for 1,400 intensely thirsty people in the middle of a grueling desert expedition. They were completely out of water, facing a truly dire life or death situation. Yet, the text records that in this moment of utter desperation, miraculous flowing springs of water gushed directly from between the prophet's fingers. And we're not talking about a small trickle here. It was enough volume for all 1,400 companions to drink their absolute fill, perform their washing, and thoroughly water every single one of their animals. A very similar event of staggering scale happened during the grueling Battle of the Trench. The companions were exhausted, they were freezing, and they were starving. One companion secretly prepared a tiny meal. We're talking just a little barley and a small goat, barely enough to feed maybe 3 or 4 people. Yet, the text states that after the prophet blessed the food and started distributing it, an incredible 1,000 people ate until they were completely stuffed. And the craziest part? When they finally finished, the cooking pots remained just as full as when they started, completely undiminished. It is a striking narrative of limitless divine provision. Finally, we arrive at section 6, the night journey legacy. We've now reached the absolute climax of the miraculous events detailed in the source, the Isra and Miraj. This sequence outlines an unprecedented physical and spiritual journey that just shatters all constraints of space and time. Step 1 begins with purification, his heart being physically cleansed with Zamzam water by angels. Step 2 details his journey on a celestial lightning-fast mount called the Borak, traveling instantly from Mecca to Jerusalem to lead all previous prophets in prayer. And then, step 3 is the ultimate ascension, moving up through the 7 heavens, past all conceivable limits of human knowledge to the Sidratul Muntaha, culminating in a direct communion with the divine. And this brings us to a really fascinating, almost unexpected pivot in the source material. After chapters upon chapters detailing incredible, historical, supernatural events that totally broke the laws of physics, the text pauses to ask a highly grounded philosophical question. If the moon was split and the dry trees wept back then, what is the greatest enduring miracle right now, today? What is actually left for us to witness in the modern era? The text concludes with a pretty profound answer. It argues that the most lasting miracles are not the physical anomalies of the past. Rather, they are 2 enduring forces. First, his perfectly exemplary character, a moral force so undeniably powerful that it turned generations of fierce, bloodthirsty enemies into devoted brothers. And second, the Quran itself. The text describes this not as some static historical relic, but as a living, continuous, intellectual miracle, one that provides profound guidance and moral structure for humanity long, long after the physical miracles have ceased. As we wrap up this explainer, the source material leaves us with a really compelling thought to ponder. If a narrative claims that the universe itself, the weather, the trees, the moon, bent to honor perfect moral character, how does studying these deeply revered historical accounts challenge our own understanding of faith today? How does it make us reflect on our own personal character? And where exactly do we draw the line at the limits of human logic? It's definitely something profound to think about. Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating text with us